Vivian, can you start the recording? Hi, welcome to our check-in. So lovely to see a lot of you. And for those that are watching this video, thank you for taking the time to watch the recording to learn what we're chatting about today. And so with our check-in for today, we are going to talk about the policy and procedural manual process as we are working on updating it as a community, as well as community recruitment for the website, for the scraw27.org website. Yadviga is going to do a presentation about accessibility support and then a few announcements, but then after the few announcements, give you all the opportunity to share announcements with each other. So we are in the midst, as I said, as a community, updating the policy and procedural manual. And so just a few sort of assistance timeline things, just so everyone is all on the same page. If you haven't already, please review the description in the manual. I sent out an email with the most updated manual description, and review it and see if there needs to be any updates. If there are any updates that do need to be made, please submit them via the Google form link by May 23rd at 9 a.m. Eastern. If you're having any sort of challenges with submissions or questions, please do not hesitate to ask. Our goal is to present an updated manual to the EC for voting in June at the June meeting. And this will allow us to have this finalized before we have some transitions in leadership in office as an organization. And so we want to make sure that the people that are coming on board, that they are equipped with what they need to make that transition so they can share their gifts in this space. And so just a nice little nugget of encouragement. One of the things that I've said in all of these chair check-ins is work on your role descriptions as chairs. And this will help onboard the chairs after you and treat it as an ongoing document. One of the things that we will transition to as an organization is having a standard deadline for this, so we can continuously be able to provide the support, because we really want to just make sure everyone has what they need in order to succeed in the roles that they are stepping into within this organization. And so the same thing's going to happen with our PMP manual as well, as having a standing deadline, so that way we all are aware and can prepare. And so that'll be communicated within the next couple months, but just wanted to give you a heads up, but also just wanted to politely nudge and encourage continuously working on your role descriptions and even a manual for your role. If you think about, hey, if you have one and how it helped you, think about how it helped the next person. Or if you didn't have one, think about, hey, how this would have been helpful if I had this. And one way to think about it is you can start with just an outline of certain areas to cover, and just little by little take a piece of it, whether it's tips for facilitating the meetings or any initiatives that maybe your group wants to continuously do, what that looks like, what that planning, what that support is needed. So you all are familiar with our scraw27.org website, yes. And so when you look at this website, do you have any ideas or things that you would like to see different, right? So if you are one of those people, I encourage you to volunteer for the Visibility and Engagement Committee. And so the mission of this committee is to provide SCRAW a strong, vibrant, and up-to-date presence on the internet. And what's going to happen with this committee, the focus is going to be on redoing the website. And this will allow us to be able to have a website that supports our members, but you as chairs as well. And so your feedback would be very helpful in trying to make sure that the redesign is one that is inclusive of our diverse membership. And so just wanted to give you some ideas on, hey, what would this look like from some tasks, right? So one of the things is that there'll be an RFP that goes out in terms of getting a website designer or developer. And it's really key for the committee to agree on what that RFP should look like. Now, we've already started a draft. The admin team have started a draft, as well as officers, in terms of having something to work from. And so one of the next steps is really having other interest groups and councils give some feedback as to what any, if any, revision should be made. So then we put that RFP out. Hopefully we get some back in terms of individuals interested in participating in this redesign, and this will be compensated. Specifically, the individuals that are redoing the website, designing and developing, will be compensated for that. And then also just collaborating with the individuals that are doing this work, specifically in terms of, hey, giving feedback on different tasks, different milestone tasks. So thinking about, okay, if we had a website map, and so essentially what that is looking at all of the toolbars and what goes up under it, and sort of looking at, hey, how can we get this to a place that really highlights us as an organization, but makes it easier for those in leadership to navigate when information is needed. And so ideally would like to complete this by the end of the year. And so the committee will really structure what those timelines and sort of project management things would look like. And I would be providing primarily a lot of the administrative support in that. And so if one of the things you're thinking is like, we have this idea, but I don't have like a lot of time to do this part or this part, that's okay. We recognize that everyone is occupying so many other spaces, and so appreciative that you're willing to occupy this one. So if you as a chair can just reach out to your members to see if anyone is interested. There was a call that had gone out a couple weeks ago. That would be greatly appreciated. The deadline is tomorrow, because we really want to get started and get this wrapped up and going so we can make sure that we have a new website in a timely manner. And so now I am going to pass this over to Yadviga to talk about accessibility.
I'm going to turn on my mic first. I'm going to go ahead and switch and share my screen. All right. So I want to start because it's important that you all know that I am not an expert at this. I recently attended a training, and I've been doing research on my own on these things. So any input or any other advice that you may have or information, please let me know. So what this is designed for is looking at creating inclusive meetings, presentations, workshops, and videos. This training is aimed specifically for everything that we're doing right now online via Zoom, via video. And so we might have a follow-up to this when we get closer to biennial and as we're planning things in person. But for the way that we are communicating right now, these are some really helpful tips. So we're going to go through there, are several different types of impairments: cognitive, visual, auditory, motor, and speech. And so we're going to cover hearing impairments and vision impairments, and then access in general for these online meeting spaces. So for those who have auditory impairments, access then looks like enabling the closed caption features for all meetings, regardless of attendees' abilities. And we talked a little bit about how this also helps those who might have a cognitive disability, right? Who like to read. It's easier for them to read than process and listen. Now, it's important to note that the AI Zoom is not ADA compliant. We don't need to be ADA compliant necessarily, but that's the standard. But it's still useful as an accessibility tool. If we had people who needed accommodation, and such as an ASL translator, then we would use an ASL translator in place of the closed captioning. So again, for meetings that require an ASL translator, the meeting host needs to spotlight the translator in order to capture the translation in the video. So I've included a link to that process here. Create breakout rooms manually so that the ASL translator and the member who needs translation are in the same room. And then here's a link to keyboard shortcuts. And then if everyone has them, it works. It's a lot easier for certain people to use the shortcuts. So for those who need help with visual access, there are a couple different things to consider, right? You have color blindness, and then you have people who have no vision. And so there are a lot of interesting things to look at here. So if you want to provide that access, you want to avoid color combinations that limit individuals with color blindness from seeing contrast. So red and green combinations, dark colors on dark hues, mid color tones, light colors and gray combinations. For instance, like this text right here was gray initially, but I made it black. And so that was important. Provide verbal instructions on how participants can ask questions. When replying to questions or comments in the Zoom chat, read the comment and supporting comments aloud and repeat the question. Again, if there's content like right now on a slideshow, read all of the content or at least be able to explain everything that's on there. I did include also a link here so that you guys have it. And this is for a Chrome plugin for a screen reader. Next, we have kind of access considerations for all meetings and presentations. So in addition to what we just kind of talked about with the visual and auditory access, the following needs to be used. Again, enable always show meeting controls in Zoom, provide instruction for how attendees can participate, both verbally and visually. Send resources that are shared in the chat in a separate email. This is really important because there are definitely people who are not able to use that chat space. And I know that a lot occurs in the chat space. Shorten URL links with Bitly, and there are other ones too, in order to make them easier to understand auditorily, right? So these screen readers are reading out these web addresses. And so having a web address that makes sense, or is easy or says what that page is about really is helpful. The recommendation is to not use Zoom polling because it's not easily accessible. And then, keep in mind that users in the following regions are not able to access Zoom. So Eastern Ukraine and Crimea, Iran, North Korea, Syria, and Cuba. So if you are doing work with anyone in those areas, or you're going to be facilitating any work regarding those areas, it's important to know that Zoom cannot be accessed there. So access considerations for website. So again, we just talked about the website. And as we go through the design process, I think in the next year, all of this is kept in mind. But a lot of you have administrative access to update your website. So these are just really good tips. Make sure with images, you include alternate descriptions. This is true for slideshows, slide decks, presentations, as well as for the website. Choose images that make sense contextually. Avoid images that have movement, especially if that movement cannot be paused or stopped. So it's interesting, on the front of the Scrop website right now, we have moving images, I think 3 or 4 different moving images, right? And so that is something that they don't recommend. And as we go through our design structure, right, that is something to keep in mind. So another thing, do not use text over images. It's really difficult for some people to navigate. So color, do not rely on color to communicate content, right? So a big thing is if you do change color, also change the font to bold or underline it, right? Use a contrast checker to check your colors. And this link right here, you can input that code, I can't think of the name of it, and then it will tell you if those 2 colors are accessible. So format, in your website, include a descriptive title. Do not skip heading levels. So when you're updating our website right now, you have like 5 different options, heading 1, 2, 3, 4, and paragraphs. So make sure if you're doing things that you use those heading levels and subheading levels appropriately. Make headings descriptive. Left align for readability. And this is also true for if you have to like a click here button or something, it shouldn't be in the middle of the page. It should be left aligned. You need to chunk the web pages into sections and avoid walls of text. Do not create hyperlinks with generic terms. And I do this all the time. Click here, more info. On any number of pages, it could say click here and as a link to something. And it could be on there 5 times for 5 different things. And so the idea is instead of utilizing those, we put actually what the title of it is. Hyperlinks should be descriptive and unique. Again, do not rely, you don't want to repeat them. You want each hyperlink on a page to have a separate term that's assigned to it. And again, do not rely on color alone for hyperlinks. You can also underline or bold. So I went ahead and I made some resources here that are available for you guys on accessibility. And I wanted to go back here really quickly with these is that when I was making this presentation, I fell into so many of the pitfalls. So I just kind of wanted to show how easy it is to screw it up. And then also how important it was for me to know from the beginning that the presentation software that I'm using has the ability to be changed and to be made accessible. So this one didn't, right? We have this, I made it yesterday, but what it doesn't have, and it's very pretty, well, it's, a lot more exciting, at least visually. And so what this does though, is it doesn't allow you to name your text or to add alt descriptions to the images. So you could use this and it might look nice for everyone, right? I like Prezi because it's easy to go through, but I'm not able to add alt text for the photo description. So I did a bunch of work. I made 2 of these in Prezi. And then I was like, oh, wait, but I can't do the alt text. All right, so let's try again. Second one. I was like, okay, black and white, black background, white, this is great. And so went through, did all of this because you can add alt text, right? So here's the alt text I added for this image. And so that was great. And then Amber and I were talking and she's like, oh, I think that the background's supposed to be light. And she was totally right. This white on black background becomes blurry for people with astigmatism. And I was like, oh, people have to be able to see this. Look at this contrast, right? So my basic understanding of this was using my own biases and my own experiences, and I centered myself in this. And that wasn't the way to go about it. And so finally I went and now. So I checked and made sure that this could do what was necessary for what I wanted to get across. I changed this into darker colors. And there are just a significant number of things that you have to keep in mind. And so finally, here are some resources, and I'm going to send this out, email it to the chair email when we're done. And so this talks about, accessibility in videos, right? These are some basic standards and guidelines for accessibility. This is a site that you can run your website through. You put your website or web page name in, and it tells you how many things on a website are not. All right, so let's do. So what this does is this then says that we're missing tags, right? This needs to have a photo description. We need to add alternate language, right? And so this is a great tool for just going through, and it's something that hopefully we'll be utilizing as we create the web page. Usability testing. This is it's really interesting if you actually have, it's not something Scraw's doing, but this uses people with disabilities to test your websites, your presentations, and you can choose and to see if they work for the, you know, the population that you're aiming towards. Here are just some techniques for alt text, which I did wrong 100 times before I think I've got some of it. And then here's just an idea on making better links, right? That label, like I said, we're not going to say click here 4 times on the same page. And so this kind of gives you just some ideas. And again, you can email me with questions as well. And I would love any feedback and any information that you guys might have, you know, kind of on this subject. We want to make sure that, you know, that we're doing the right thing and, you know, and being inclusive. So that is all I have. I'm going to stop my share. And let me know if you guys need anything or have any questions or discussion or anything.
And also one thing to also remember, everyone, is that in the chair check-in folder, we shared a slide deck that was used for the biennial being virtual. And so we had an accessibility consultant create a slide deck for presenters. And so that is also a resource for you as well that you have access to as you're thinking about your presentations and your meetings and even your marketing for those that do your own flyers for your event. Well, all right. Well, we're going to just continue with the slide deck. Thank you, Yadviga. And so as you all saw, Yadviga presented about accessibility support, and that slide deck will be made available to all chairs. And so now I just want to transition to a few announcements about some of the things that are going on that you all are doing. And so I see Michoud is on the line. So one thing just wanted to point out was the SCRA coordinator recruitment sessions, that there are going to be 2 sessions. And they are in 3-hour blocks, and both of them are on the SCRA conference line. Michoud, did you want to add anything?
No. Thank you for bringing this up. I think the mistake I made was blocking out 3 hours per section. People have been asking, are we going to stay here for 3 hours per each section? So, you know, when I send out a reminder, I probably will remind people it's just to have enough time to have conversation. It's not like we have to spend 3 hours each section. But I don't have anything. You know, will you be there actually? Because I might need you to. I might need you to, you know, to say 1 or 2 things. I probably will reach out to you outside of this place.
Yes, you will definitely have support for these sessions.
All right, thank you.
No problem. And so just wanting to plug those things, as a lot of you are aware, is that we are constantly just seeking the gifts of members that want to help support us as we continue to move forward within SCRA. So this is just another opportunity for you all to do that. And so the next announcement I have is a event that Sarah is going to put on, which is called What is the Color of Power? And you may have seen the flyer go out. And so this is just a picture of the flyer, but essentially it's going to be a workshop on June 3rd at 1 p.m. Eastern. Registration is required, and so you will get access to those if you're registered. There is a cap, a capacity of 20 people, and there's also pre-work with this session as well. And so I encourage those that are able to fully participate in the session, meaning do the pre-work and be in attendance at the session, to register and attend. And next, I am going to just pass it on to all of you. As you all are doing different work, just want to give you all the opportunity, for anyone that would like to share what's happening in your neck of the woods and any events that you have coming up. Would anyone like to share? Yes, Mason.
Hi, sorry I'm late. I haven't been to one of these before, so now that my semester is closing out and I have a little more time, nice to see what this chair check-in is all about. I wanted to mention that a solicitation was just sent out to the listserv for teaching materials. There's a section of the COE, Council on Education portion of the SCRA website where people in the past have posted syllabi, videos, different sources, different kinds of educational teaching resources for undergraduates and graduates studying community psychology. And it hasn't been updated for quite some time. But there's great stuff on there and it's frequently used. So we want to expand upon it and update those materials. And we're hoping people will indulge us by sharing some of the things that they've created for teaching CP. And so that's out there. The message was sent out in the listserv. There's a link in the message to a survey, which is very brief, just to give us an idea of what you're submitting so we can organize it. Then a place to upload whatever it is that you want to share with the field. So hopefully some of you will be interested in helping us with that. I know it's something that I've used in the past and hopefully it'll be a nice resource for people if we bring it up to speed a little bit.
Thank you for sharing that, Mason. And so, yeah, for those of you that are teaching, yes, share. This is how we learn from each other. This is how we're able to get some ideas and get some brainstorming. I know I've learned from others in terms of I've requested syllabi from other people that I've known that teach the courses and have used that in terms of trying to, when I teach an intro to community involvement, which is essentially community psychology. And so I encourage all of you to do the same. And so we'll have this wonderful repository that we can all learn from and continue to grow it, right? As Mason shared, like it hasn't been updated in a while. That's okay. That's life. But we want it to be an ongoing thing. So it's always something that people can continue to expand on and continue to refer to as a resource. And so thank you, Mason, for announcing that was shared on the listserv and just the work that COE is doing in terms of getting that together. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't been to that page, you should check it out because there is a lot of good stuff on there. That's just a little dated.
Can I add something to this? I know it started as an initiative. It's just knowledge sharing hub. And I know the tendency, especially for some of us who are more academically leaning, to think of it as this is great for academics, which it is. But we want to make sure that we stress that this is not just academic material, so not just syllabi. And I think you, Mason, by the way, for bringing this up. So it's not just your traditional class activities, assignments, syllabi. This could also work for practitioners, those working in the policy arena. So let's say you have some examples of great work in those areas. Maybe you have a workshop or PowerPoint slide deck or report that you have shared with your community partners that you can use as an example to share with others. We're welcoming that as well. So I just want to make sure to stress that this is both for academics as well as practitioners and anybody on the spectrum.
Yeah, and Olya or Sharia, would you want to add anything about possible events in the future to publicize the resources and get more of a learning community of sorts going around the resources?
Sure. And so again, this all began with an idea of sharing resources. Once in a while, you will have seen those, or maybe you have sent out kind of calls for, hey, can somebody share? I'm teaching a course, or I'm starting a course, or updating a course. Can somebody share a syllabus or an activity or something like that on the listserv? So we wanted to be a little more organized. And the original thought is to create a hub, very well organized, easy to navigate. But in addition to that, we thought that we can also utilize the knowledge that our members have and have knowledge sharing workshops and discussions. And so we want to continue with this. And we also want to publicize those as well as recognize especially early career and graduate students who are maybe contributing by highlighting some of their work in the TCP or some other way, conference presentations and otherwise. So this is not just a hub, although that's how it originally started. We do want to share knowledge as much as possible, because if you've you probably heard me say this before, but I truly believe that knowledge should be free, and we already have a lot. So this is about, collaboration. Doesn't get more community side than that. And let me know if you have any questions. Lisa, did I answer? Did I answer? Okay.
Thanks, Lilia.
So I hope this has inspired a lot of you that are watching this video and attending this session to contribute. And let's continue to connect and learn from each other. And so thank you for giving some more insight into that initiative. Does anyone else like to share anything that maybe your group is doing, any events you may have coming up that you would like other chairs to know, to share with their members?
We've been training the early careers. So I'm speaking from early careers because I'm in multiple groups as co-chair. So we've been training the early careers on how to do peer reviews. And so we did that for the last article that we're submitting for May 15th. It has been a great training session. And so other early careers are interested in learning about how to do the peer review process. So we go through what is peer review, the process, and then how do you do the whole actual peer reviewing. And so that's been great. So we had, what was it? 6 people at the last session, and more are looking forward to the next one, which will start in fall. That's it.
Awesome. Anyone else?
I'm happy to quickly talk about the bridging mentoring program. Just a quick reminder to everyone that this initiative that's been greatly supported by so many different groups, but especially the undergraduate interest group as well as COE. The idea is that graduate students taking the leadership role in mentoring undergraduate students who might be interested in community psychology. We're going strong. We have about 80 students who are actively participating in the mentoring sessions. We're planning our sessions for the fall, and we might do some in the summer. But the idea is that both Erin and I are going to be stepping back and allowing the graduate students to take the lead. So we're going to elect 2 co-chairs. We're going to be advising, but they're going to be taking the leadership. And it's an amazing program. And so what I'm asking is for you to keep this in mind when you see our flyers. Please disseminate. The worst thing that can happen is graduate students put their passion, time, and energy into putting together a presentation, and then no undergraduates show up. So please help us disseminate this fantastic opportunities. We talk about things like how to apply for graduate school, what does it mean to be a community psychologist of color, among others, how to survive graduate school, etc. So please keep us in mind, and if you see a flyer, send it to your undergraduate students or master students who are potentially considering PhD programs. Thank you.
Thank you. And are there any other announcements that you all would like to share?
So we hosted the MPA 21st of last month. Something we've not done in person in about 3 years. So it was good to see almost everyone again. About 50 people show up for the dinner, for the reception, or 50 or more at least, counting. It was good to see everyone again, and we're looking forward to. I think the next one will be biannual, right? So I wanted to share that we did that, and it was headache free, if I can say it like that. Thank you.
Yes, isn't this exciting that we're transitioning a little bit back to more in person and communal things? And so really excited to in the upcoming sort of weeks to be able to share more things about, what's coming up next year, biennial. But I do want to also just put a plug in for we are looking for a 2025 host site. And so if you are affiliated with a group or an institution, does not necessarily have to be a university that leads it or college. And so just want to put that plug in there. One of the things that is so wonderful about biennial is that you get to visit different spaces, but also it's a chance for whomever hosting to sort of really invite and welcome and really share about what makes their space very special and that identity. And so I'm just you'll probably be hearing those nudges a lot for the next upcoming months in terms of encouraging individuals to consider hosting for biennial 2025. And so I just want to put that out there, and we'll share more information about where we are with 2023 in upcoming months. One of the things Mason said is like, hey, this was his first time and wanted to learn like, hey, what is this chair check-in? And so initially it was started as a way to, one, provide support for chairs and get feedback from you all if there's things that you need, and as well as give you all the opportunity to connect with each other. Because one of the things that I have learned in this role is that so many groups are doing so many different things, but a lot of times people don't know what each other are doing. And so this is just an opportunity to be able to connect and learn. And I hope that by attending today or watching this video, for those that are watching it later, that you've learned of some things that are going on that you can get engaged with, that you can share with your students, and that you can also participate in. And so we'll have another chair check-in after APA. And so since we'll have new chairs coming in and new leaders transitioning, in the fall, we'll have another one just to really orient everyone and to provide support. And so I look forward to continuously collaborating with you all and seeing the great work that you're doing within SCRA and beyond. And so just want to thank everyone for your attendance today and have a spiffy summer. Bye, everyone.